All right, this is it. I'm doing it. I'm finally doing it. I'm finally starting the YouTube channel. This is the YouTube channel where I'm gonna document my healing journey. But to know a bit more about my healing journey, you're gonna need to know a bit about my journey of disease. And this is something I don't really like to talk about much, but that's what this channel's about. And the fact that I don't like talking about this is mainly the reason why I haven't started this channel. I'm very self-conscious. I'm very concerned about what people would think of me, or whether or not I actually have anything to offer. The internet seems to be this place where people just go and they fight and they argue and they sell stuff and they act really fake to try to get people to like them. And I don't want to do any of those things. I go on the internet and I feel overwhelmed by the conflict and the fakeness, and I don't want to do any of that stuff, right? I just want to be super raw and super authentic, but that means putting myself out there in ways that are really uncomfortable. So this first video, I'm just going to go ahead and do the thing that makes me the most uncomfortable, which is talking about my journey of how I got to this place and where I am. When I was very young, between the ages of 13 and 14, I started experiencing pain in my neck and shoulders and in my knees, and I didn't really understand what it was there for, and none of my friends had this pain. And my mother is a nurse, so I went to her and I, of course, complained about the pain, and this began a many-year process of being carried from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist. None of them could really help me, and most of the things they did were pretty barbaric, but they gave it a name. They called it chronic myofascial pain. It's been given many names since then. It's been called fibromyalgia. It's been called chronic Lyme. It's been said to be autoimmune in nature. It's been called a lot of things. But the bottom line is, at the age of 14, I started to experience pain that was affecting my quality of life. And over the next 3 years, I was taken through many rounds of physical therapy. I had muscle relaxers injected into my back. I was put on antidepressants. I was really unhappy. And I used to love skateboarding and mountain biking and snowboarding, and I played lacrosse and I ran cross country, and I was a very athletic, physical person, but one by one, each of those activities became impossible for me to do. They became impossible. I just had to quit. And I became so frustrated with all of these so-called health experts that I just ran away. I ran away from it all. And I said, I'm not going to any more of these doctors. And I just started putting all of my depression, all of my anger into art. And I started making music, and I fell in love with music. And I started doing drugs to self-medicate myself, and I fell in love with drugs. I loved smoking cigarettes. I loved smoking ganja. I loved doing anything I could get my hands on. And I loved being that rock star catastrophe at the age of 16. I loved it. It was so much fun. But that fun didn't last for very long. Eventually, my condition got worse and worse and worse. That's what happens when you hate yourself and you poison yourself over and over again. Eventually, you get sick. You get really sick. And so by the time I was 20 years old, I lost the ability to play music. In a very short period of time, the pain became so systemic and so widespread that I couldn't function. I couldn't wash my own dishes. I couldn't fold my own laundry. I couldn't work. I couldn't do much of anything. And that's when I decided to become a raw foodist. So you guys notice that I keep switching hands with the camera. I'm trying to keep this thing steady. I apologize. This is an ongoing thing that I'm dealing with. Something happened neurologically in my body when I couldn't play music anymore. I just couldn't get my fingers in the right place on my guitar. And to this day, I still have trouble doing things like stabilizing this camera. So please just be patient and bear with me. But in my early 20s, I decided this is it. I'm totally revolutionizing my life. And I was introduced to raw food, and I became a raw vegan. I quit smoking cigarettes, I quit drinking alcohol, I quit drinking coffee, I stopped smoking ganja, I stopped playing music because I couldn't play music. And I was so depressed. I had never been more depressed in my life because everything I had ever loved was taken away from me. And I put all my hope in this radical diet, right? Basically nothing but fruits and vegetables. If you're not familiar with the raw vegan diet, literally my entire diet was made up of fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, leafy greens. That's it. All organic if I could, tons of green juice, green smoothies, mono diets. I got really obsessed with detox. I ended up doing water fasts, did a 40, or not 40 day, that would have been awesome. I did a 20-day water fast. I did 60 days where I ate nothing but grapes. I did crazy herbal cleanses, enemas, body work. I did all kinds of stuff. Eventually I ran into problems with that diet. That led me to new ideas, new explorations of healing. I explored movement and meditation and sleep habits, and eventually I came to understand about the mind body and realized that the pain could very easily be a literal manifestation of my mental health. And given the fact that I had been depressed and hated myself my whole life, no wonder there was pain in my body. So I started exploring mind-body practices and got really into journaling exercises. Eventually, in my late 20s, I moved out west. I lived in my van. And then later on, I got really into spirituality. Because eventually I realized, after all these efforts, you know, I had successes and I had failures. And my health just went up and down for almost a decade. As I was working my ass off, trying to figure out how to heal. And I was putting my whole life on hold, trying to figure out how to heal. And one day I was just like, screw it, I can't do that anymore. I can't put my life on hold. So I got in my van, I drove out west, and I had a crazy spiritual awakening. And the spiritual awakening left me more broken and more exhausted than I've ever been in my life. And so I came back to my hometown in Virginia, a little bit with my tail between my legs, with more debt than I'd ever experienced, with more pain than I'd ever experienced. And that's where I am now. I'm 30 years old, unable to work, living in my parents' basement, trying to figure out how to live my life with the pain, trying to figure out how to work every day towards being pain-free. But it's hard. It's hard because I've ran out of hope. I ran out of energy. And I'm just really sad about all of it. And so this channel is as much for me as it is for anyone else out there. I know there's a lot of people in our world today who are very sick. There's a lot of people in our world today who are really struggling with depression, anxiety, drug addiction, and chronic pain. Those are the 4 things that I'm going to focus on, because those are what my experience has been about. But the principles that I'm going to share on here, I think, can help anyone cultivate health, because that's what it's really about. It's not about treating conditions. It's about cultivating health. And I may be at this incredible low place right now, but in my mind, I have 15 years worth of health knowledge that I can start to implement. In my heart, I have an intuitive voice that will guide me and help me on this journey. And in my hand, I have this camera with which I'm going to share that journey with you. And it's really uncomfortable. And I feel really vulnerable. But I'm going to make a video every day. I've been feeling this little pull, this intuitive pull in my heart to make these videos for a long time. And Spirit has guided me to this point in my life. Spirit has been telling me over and over and over again, in as many ways as possible, that you Chad, you are someone who needs to be out there. You're creative and passionate, and you need to put yourself out there. So that's what I'm going to do. And I have a love-hate relationship with the internet. Like I said, there's a lot of fake people out there. There's a lot of nonsense out there. And on this channel, I'm never going to pretend to be anything other than I'm not. I'm never going to pretend to be anything other than what I am, all right? All my flaws, all my feelings, all my thoughts, I'm going to put them out here. But these are just my experience. Your experience is valid. I respect it. I don't want to create controversy. This is one of my fears about making this channel. As I go online, you see all these YouTube channels, and people's YouTube channels just full of controversy. Every comment section is full of people just hating each other, and this is something that's really prevented me from putting myself on the internet. But the world is in a state of chaos, and we are in a state of transformation as a species. And I truly believe that my generation, everyone on the internet watching this video right now who is under the age of 35, we're going to be the ones who have to change everything. Because the way that we've been living, the world that we inherited, it's not going to work anymore. It's broken, it's falling apart, and we got to be the ones to turn it around. And I've been carrying the weight of that for so many years. You know, I used to be really into like anarchist politics, and I used to go to anti-war protests, and I was there for the Occupy movement, and I've often lashed out at the world. I've been very concerned about environmental issues, you know, and I went to Standing Rock in hopes to change things, and I eventually realized you can't change shit by forcing. You can't resist that which you don't want anymore. You have to create what you want to see. You have to create the new world. You can't destroy the old. The old world is dying. We don't need to tear it down. You don't need to smash the state. The state's falling apart. We don't need to fight the corporations that are destroying the rainforest. All that stuff's falling apart. We need to create a new world. And I believe that starts with yourself, with healing. And so the approach I take for healing is mind, body, and spirit. You know, it's not just the body. And if you can really find peace and wholeness within yourself, then you can go out into the world and you can make a difference. Not by fighting the things with which you dislike, but by supporting the things that you love, by building up the forces of good in the world. And that starts with healing. That starts with coming to terms with your own humanness and finding peace in your heart. That comes with changing your lifestyle, being the light, and spreading that light as much as you can. It sounds a little cliche, I know, but it's the only way. It's the only way forward. So I'm going to document my journey, one video every day, of how I'm healing, how I'm trying to heal, how I'm trying to change my life, how I'm trying to implement the knowledge that I've gained over the past 15 years of being sick and turn it into wisdom through action. And I might fail. But if I fail at freeing myself from the pain, the physical pain, then I want to at least succeed at freeing myself from the emotional pain. And I know that by doing that, even if I never run again, even if I never play music again, even if I'm never able to do any of the things I want to do physically again, if I can find peace with that and I can heal in my heart, then I can be a force for positive change in the world. And if I can help some other people do the same thing, then perhaps we can create a ripple effect. Because there's no other way forward except to be the light and to spread the light. That's it. Every single living thing on this planet depends on it. And I can't just sit back any longer and hope it all goes away. I can't hide in my home holding the anger and sadness inside me. I need to put that anger and sadness to good use. I need to transmute it into real change. And I hope that you're able and willing to join me in that journey. If these videos speak to you, then please be a part. Be a part of spreading the light. All right. That's it. Video number 1.